What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you are watching our live feed through the video, you can see that we do have a special guest with us tonight. If you're listening the audio, we're going to hand it right over to him and let him introduce himself and kind of just give a couple things about him. Then we're going to get right into tonight's episode. It's going to be a good one.
What's up, guys? My name is Tyler Etheridge. I'm from Monroe County. I coach middle school basketball, coach high school golf. Of course, my favorite team is the Eagles in football, and my favorite team in college is Kentucky, and big Red Sox fan as well. And I just love sports, and I love talking about sports.
Yeah, you know,
he's not a bandwagon fan. I'm not. I
Yeah,
will claim
that is
that.
true.
I will say he's not just because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. He's not bandwagon. He's been true Eagles.
We've been here for a while. We've been through it all.
Man, Nick Foles. I can't stand that, guys.
Build the statue, man. Build the statue.
No, but for those who don't know Tyler is very well known just knowing sports. I mean, I know he said that he coaches a lot of sports, but I know that from my interactions with him and known him for a long time that talks a lot of sports. He's been on other podcasts before, talk sports, so he knows his stuff. So we wanted to bring him on here to share his thoughts on some stuff. But let's get right into our first segment as we continue on to make it well known. This is Bluegrass State of Mind because we're all about the Kentucky Wildcats. A lot of things happened this week in the portal. So as of right now, I found this stat today. Kentucky ranks now number 4 in the country in the team transfer rankings, and we have picked up another guy, Denzel Aberdeen, the Florida transfer, 6'5" guard, going to be a senior. Averaged 7.7 points, 1.7 rebounds, 1.4 assists, shot 35% from three-point land, and then 41.8% from the field goal. That was the incoming transfer we got. We do have another guy leaving, Mr. Travis Perry, the Kentucky homeboy, is going to be making his way out of the Big Blue. Mason, what's some of your initial thoughts? Let's attack the Denzel Aberdeen guys before we get into Travis Perry. So thoughts on Aberdeen?
Yeah, so Aberdeen, I mean, he was pretty much Florida's sixth man last year. You know, he was a great role player for him, came off the bench, did what he needed to do. Like you said, Dylan, I had all his stats down here as well. But I was looking back through some of his games last year, and he averaged right under 20 minutes a game for the season. But there was about a 4-game stretch during SEC play where they played Vandy, Auburn, Mississippi State, and South Carolina that he averaged over 30 minutes a game through that 4-game stretch. And his scoring average, he averaged 16.5 points per game throughout that 4-game stretch when he was playing more. So I think the biggest thing for me with this pickup is this guy, one, he understands his role, right? But if we get guys that are injured or we get guys that get in foul trouble early and he has to come in and play significant minutes, he's proven that he can come in and do that. And I think that also speaks to kind of Pope understanding this year, you know, like Travis Perry, right? Whenever he came in, we fell off significantly. And I don't think that's going to happen this year with some of the depth that we had. And we got another little segment coming up talking about that. But he just seems like a guy who's really, he understands his role. He's going to buy into it. You know, I saw where his dad was talking about, you know, there was really nowhere else we were even considering. You know, once Kentucky reached out, we kind of knew, like, hey, that's where we want to be. And I think in his mind, he wants to compete for another national championship. And it's good to have somebody on your team that's been there and been through that, right? An upperclassman, he's a senior. He understands what it takes. You know, I feel like he's kind of an emotional leader with that team too. You know, I know he was a sixth man, but that's very important for a team like Florida. He would always come in and give them a big lift. So I'm super excited. I don't know what role he's going to play for us yet, but excited to have him on the team. You know, even if he is, you know, one of those six man or guys who comes off the bench, I think he's a great addition for us.
Yeah, you make a good point on like what role he's going to play. Tyler, I want to hand it over to you. So you talk about a sixth guy, he's sixth man, coming off a national championship. probably going to walk into this Kentucky team with not being cocky, but I mean, you just come off won a national championship. You know, you've been there,
Confidence.
done that. Yeah. But where do you see his role at on this Kentucky team? I mean, he's 6'5". He like Mace. I didn't. That's a very interesting stat that you brought up, Mason, about that 4 game stretch. I didn't know that, so that's very interesting. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts on him?
I think you're going to see him take a different role this year. He's very interested in playing point guard. He's expressed his ability, like he wants to be point guard. So I feel like he's kind of going to be a combo guard, sort of like Acadian Lewis was going to be when he was going to come in. I can see him coming off the bench some, starting some to 2 guard, giving Lowe a break when Lowe needs minutes out. I mean, he's going to be useful. And plus his defense, man, he gives everything he's got on the defensive end. Like it's
Yeah,
nuts. So, I mean, I
I
feel
mean,
like it's a great pickup. I mean, it really is. You're bringing in a national champion, senior, no brainer.
yeah. Colton, what are your initial thoughts on him?
Yeah, I'm like him because right now with the Caden Lewis leaving, we don't have a true backup point guard, right? You're kind of hoping that Jasper Johnson can kind of be that, but before Aberdeen, you were like, is Colin Chandler your backup, right? I mean, really, that's really where we were at, and really Aberdeen and Chandler are probably going to be somewhat the kind of the same role, right? They can play the two. If they've got to play the one, they can. They could also, we go smaller, they could probably play the three, right? So they're really going to be similar. To me, he's just, I mean, the experience is what I'm excited about for him, but he's also just another one of those guys we're bringing in that average like 7 to 10, right? That's been averaging. So you don't know what you're going to get. We still don't have that star, and we don't know how well any of these guys can shoot, right? Like they'll say, oh, they shot 35%, but when you only average 7 points, well, you were probably averaging maybe 2 threes a game or or
Mm-hmm.
something. So like I don't know who our true shooter is. That
Yeah,
still worries me a little bit, but overall, his experience is what excites me the most about him. I think he can do a little bit of everything, which is, the last few players we've brought in, it seems like that's who we've brought in that can do a little bit of everything. I don't know that we have anyone that can do great at one particular thing, but you got a bunch of guys that have the ability to have different styles of games that
mm-hmm.
can contribute in multiple areas of the game. So I think it's overall a
Yeah.
good pickup, and we'll see if we add any more.
I love Colton that you talked about. Like you brought it. You said that this is another guy 7 to 10 points per game. And we don't have that killer. Like we don't have that Walter Clayton Jr. We don't have that Mark Sears. But I got to think about this today, and I was while I was mowing a yard, I was like, with everybody that we have. Colton, the other night you was talking about you take the Houston Rockets. The Rockets has built this team on a team, excuse me, that doesn't really have somebody that's just going to take over the entire game, but they collectively all average around that 13, 14. And the more that I look at our roster, the more that I think that that's the kind of team that I feel like that might be us this year, unless we go get a surpriser. And it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a shock to Kentucky because we're used with Cal. We was used to having those like one or two guys who would come in, and that's who we put everything into in our faith, like at the end of the game or whenever we need it. And yes, I think you do need one of those guys when it comes down to crunch time. Like it doesn't need to be like who's going to get the ball, who's going to go make a play. You got to have somebody that fills into that role. But as far as just the season itself goes, I think it could be something where we have a bunch of guys who average about 10 or 11, which is not a bad thing because I think that that's Mark Pope's style. His offense is that. I don't think his offense is technically built for one or two people to just absolutely go off and have 20 and 18. It's built for guys to have 10, 12, 12, 14 feet, like for it to be a variety. And I think that could be dangerous in a lot of different ways. Now, you also can play devil's advocate here. And like I said, you can be like, well, who are we going to give the ball towards at the end of the game? But is anybody else having those similar thoughts? Is that I just feel like that's my initial thoughts when I'm looking at this roster because I agree. I don't see anybody that I'm just like, man, he's a bucket. He's a stone cold killer.
That
Could it?
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Tyler.
Jaden Quaintance is going to be that guy.
Let's hope he's healthy. I mean, I do think he will be,
I'm
but
saying I'm talking maybe around
yeah,
February, March.
yeah.
Guys, he was 17 years old last year and averaged 9-9 at 17. So I feel like this year, get him healthy, get him with Pope. Come March, yeah, he's going to be good. And also, I mean, pretty much it's not set in stone, but Holloway's probably coming back. I mean, I've looked at every mock
Right.
draft. I've looked at every mock draft, and he's not even listed. So, like, there's your guy at the end of the game. Go get me a bucket, you know?
I
But
agree,
honestly,
but then again, for he's only one dimensional though, Tyler, and that's
very
what
true.
scares me. He's
Very
got
true.
to be able to shoot the ball. And as far as Jaden Quaidance, I guess I should have been a little bit more specific. I'm talking about as far as guards because when
Yeah,
it comes down to it, March is for guards. I mean,
I
you
agree.
look at,
Yeah.
and that's where my worry is. I hope Jaden Quaidance can take over. We've not had a big man who's had a great touch and be able to just make. I mean, you think of, I
Probably
mean,
since Towns really is
yeah,
your last true offensive big man that we've had.
Bam, maybe, but kind
Bam
of
maybe, but he was still kind of an all around like
defense
yes,
kind of guy.
yeah. No, I'm agreeing. I mean, it worries me just because true one Low is probably the highest ever scorer we've got that's coming in from what he averaged last year, but I don't think he's going to average in the SEC what he averaged in the ACC. I do think he's got more of a versatile game than like a little Mont Butler, but I do think it'll be a little bit of a wake up call for Lowe. We just have so many question marks, right? Like the Jasper Johnson, he could be a freshman stud, and we don't really, we're just so used to knowing one of these top five guys is probably going to come in, but we don't know like a 22nd or 28th ranked guy or whatever Johnson is. I mean, you just have so many question marks. And then does Colin Chandler take off, right? I'm not been big on Colin Chandler, but the way he kind of showed in the athleticism and the height that he has, does he all of a sudden become like a potential starter, on this type of team? And so I think there's just a lot of question marks. I
yeah.
still just don't know the shooters, right? Like I think, and thing is, Mark Pope has always had shooters. BYU, they were going to be shooters. This past year with Robinson and Brea and Almanor, right? You had pure shooters, and this is probably going to be the first team that he coaches that doesn't just have what we know so far as just a true pure shooter. So how do you develop these guys to score without like having a true shooter on your team?
hmm
We'll see.
Mason, I want to hear your thoughts on the roster makeup, but I also want to hear you talk a little bit about, Colton just brought in like, what about Colin Chandler? Could Colin Chandler come in there? Like, we have a very deep roster.
Well,
Also, question: how in the world is Mark Pope going to
Yeah.
utilize all these guys, keep them happy? Eh, You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
yeah. So I had both of these things written down on my notes, right? So the first thing, we have all these guys right now as far as like the roster goes. We have these walk-ons that are transferring out. You have Travis Perry that transferred out at the last minute. And the landscape of college basketball with NIL has completely shifted. We can have 15 scholarship players now. So I don't know if this means that Mark Pope, he's kind of thinking, hey, we can bring in a couple more scholarship players. Maybe we bring in that knockdown shooter for us. I don't know what all that means, but to me, why why are all these guys transferring out right now? And deciding to go somewhere else, these walk-ons. And I kind of get Travis Perry. We'll get into that here in a minute. But that's my initial take on like, we still have three if Owe comes back, we still have three roster spots left right now that we could fill with scholarships. So I don't know if he is done, but we'll see what all that shakes out to be. Um, as far as like our roster makeup, I'm really not too worried about it. And my biggest thing is like Colton, you mentioned we don't really have that knockdown shooter. Let's just be honest. A shooter like Kobe Brea is very hard to come by, right? We're probably not going to see that again for 2 or 3, 4 years. That's once every 3 or 4 or 5 years that you get somebody like that can just knock down and rattle off 8 threes in a game. But the biggest thing to me is like we have right now about 5 to 7 guys that shoot at 35% or better from 3-point land. All right, and I know we probably had close to that same thing last year with Travis Perry, Trent Noah, and all these guys, but we're so much more athletic. Like this team is going to be able to beat you off the dribble. We're going to be able to create those open looks that sometimes we had trouble getting last year because of that lack of athletic ability. So that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. Like I'm not super worried about it because we've gotten a whole lot more athletic. That I think that's going to help Mark Pope's system. being able to get by guys, create open looks. We struggled at times to move the ball last year, get by our guy, get downhill, and I don't think that's going to be an issue this year with kind of how he's developed this team. And we've got so much more athletic. I mean, we could throw a lineup in there defensively that could just be ridiculous.
Yeah. Tyler, what is your before we move on, I want to hear one more thought from you. So going out in this portal is tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
So with Mark Pope, just this being his second year, technically I say it's his first year truly in the portal because he was such a late get last year. Well, so far, what do you grade Pope? Like, if you had to give him a letter grade and then kind of get a little bit reasoning why.
Man, I love Mark Pope. I mean, I know. See, sometimes he doesn't. People say he's not the guy to light a fire under you or whatever, but the man knows basketball and he knows how to get players to come to him. I mean, he had 4 weeks to build last year's roster and built it in Sweet 16 team. Fellas, we hadn't seen a Sweet 16 in a long time. It had been a minute, and Pope he gets guys and he makes them work. And the big thing about it now is Pope has money. At BYU, now they got money from the Jazz guy.
Yeah, now they do.
He's throwing them out money, but Pope never had that money when he was there. He was bringing in freshman 3-stars and making them work and winning 20 games a year. And I got nothing bad to say about Pope. I mean, yeah, sometimes he's a little laid back and doesn't get fired up, but end of the day, he knows his stuff and he knows how to get guys to you. So
Yeah, so what about this portal, though? What would you give him a letter grade on the portal, like through what he grabbed this year with our roster right now?
probably around a A minus, I would say. I mean, it's a top portal class. Like everybody's putting Louisville above us, but they got a lot of guards. That's kind of
Did you all
tough to
see?
beat.
Yeah, did y'all see the ESPN draft that came out today? They had us at 10, and that was crazy to me because that was the first one that I had seen us like ever out of the
Like
top
portal
5.
ranking or AP? Just like
AP.
potential AP poll for next year?
AP for next year is way too early. They had Louisville like 5, Houston at 2,
Houston at 2. Wow, I think
Houston at
would be
2.
1.
Purdue was at 1, I think. Purdue was at 1.
If they get or no, I think Illinois is leaning towards the Stojakovic, aren't they? He's kind of an Illinois lean right now.
Yeah, they just said he's probably a lock to go there.
But didn't Purdue get that other guard from Europe to go with Braden Smith?
Not too sure what they got.
I don't know if they got him yet, but I know they're looking at him, and he kind of reminds me of he's not as big or obviously a skill, but like the way he plays is kind of like a Luka Doncic. I was like, those two together could be nasty.
Speaking of the Europeans, I don't know much about the one boy we brought in from that one league.
That we call him AJ.
Yeah, he seemed like if you read his stats, I mean, he seems like he can shoot the ball okay, and he's big. I mean, stretch 4, so maybe that's a guy that fits in Pope's offense pretty good too. I know we didn't bring him up, so maybe.
Yeah,
it's too early to tell. Way too early right now.
Well, real quick, let's not take too much time on this one, just because there's not too much to say, I don't think. But talk about Travis Perry. Travis Perry has entered the transfer portal. Just a quick couple of thoughts. I'm not going to share my thoughts because I feel like it'll be the same, but I do want to hear from at least 2 of y'all. Colton, initial thoughts on the Travis Perry.
Yeah, I think we all saw it coming, right? I mean, we hated Kentucky boy. I know that's always been like for the old timey fans, especially you love seeing a Kentucky kid, and then the Reed Shepherd experience made everyone really love it, because you actually had a Kentucky kid come in, then go top 3 in the draft. So, and I think everyone kept trying to make Travis Perry Reed Shepherd, and he just wasn't. And it doesn't mean that he couldn't, I would love to see him go to a Western or a mid-major like that. He probably wouldn't even start at Western, but he could probably be the pack-up point guard at Western, come in, average 15 to 20 minutes a game. And honestly, if I'm him, go get the experience, get stronger, and become better, get a better IQ defensively, because he's not going to have the height. He's never going to have the speed. But Reed Shepherd, yes, he was a little more athletic, but there were times Reed Shepherd got blown by also. But Reed Shepherd had the IQ to get into passing lanes. He got the IQ to back tip it if they got by him. He had this different defensive IQ that, Dylan, you talked about it, right? Like, if you're not going to be the fastest guy on the court, right, you know that the guy that's faster than you just have to have a higher IQ. So learn that to make yourself to where you can't be a defensive liability. And then maybe one day he comes back, right? Maybe, later on he develops into a 15, 16 point a game guy by his senior year at somewhere like a Western. Come back, maybe he's a knockdown shooter, and we can put him in the game without having to worry about being a defensive liability. But I wish him the best, but he wasn't going to see any playing time, and he had to do what's best for him. So,
Mason, end us on the Travis Perry.
Yeah. So, I mean, first thing, I mean, he obviously got to live out his dream, right? Every kid's dream growing up in Kentucky is to play for the University of Kentucky. So he got to do that. I think he realized, that he's not going to be getting the playing time that he wants or needs for his development, which is understandable. So him transferring out, I think it's a good decision. We all saw it coming. The biggest thing for him is, and I've said this a couple times, he did not play point guard in high school, right? They had a point guard. He played the two. He came off screens. He was getting jumpers every possession. There were plays drawn up for him to get open looks. And he was kind of thrown in this year where he really had to fill in that point guard position for us. And that's something that's going to take time for him to develop and learn. And that's a position he's going to have to play at this level. So I think if he can go somewhere, like Colton said, a Western or a Murray, Murray State's really close to his home, and develop for a couple years, learn how the game is at the point guard at this level. And then, I would love to see him come back here in a couple years if he can develop, get a little stronger, and improve defensively. I don't know if he has it athletically wise to cut it at Kentucky, but
Yeah.
wish him the best of luck.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's take a break from Kentucky talk. We'll come back to it because we do want to discuss this whole NIL, the amount of money that Kentucky is going to be spending. At least that's what everybody has been saying in articles that you read. But let's shift gears to the NFL. This episode, when it drops, it will be tomorrow, which is now today, Thursday. The NFL draft is tonight. So we're going to break that down. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we have said before, Colton and I both, Tom Brady fans, end to end. Yeah, we were not bandwagon fans. We've been fans very, very long time. And we always said that once he did retire, obviously we did cheer for the Titans. But when he officially retired, we'd be all tighten up. Then you have Mason, who's a big Packers fan, and you have, I don't know if we should say much, but Tyler's an Eagles fan. But let's break it down. So, since we're talking about the Titans do hold the number one pick. And from my understanding, everything that I have read, they are all in on Cam Ward now. Early on, I think that it was kind of, wishy-washy, as you would say. They didn't really know if they wanted to trade down and get draft picks. But now it seems like everything is headed straight towards Cam Ward. And here's my thoughts on that. And then I'll let everybody else go. I feel like the Titans. I was listening to some clips today from Adam Schefter, and I thought it was very interesting. And he was talking about last year, and he was talking about the Broncos, and he was saying, when you're talking about picking a franchise quarterback, you can't just like that quarterback. You have to love that quarterback. Like, you have to be all in. And what they brought up was you take the Broncos. The Broncos did not like Bo Nix. They loved Bo Nix. And I think that's a scenario here where you find the Titans. And, what it comes down to, it's about like with every sport. It's a system. Will Levis, do I think he has all the credentials and everything that you need to be a elite quarterback in the NFL? I do. But I just don't think he fit the Titans system. And there's going to be a time, I mean, you look at Baker Mayfield. What in the world? Where'd he come from? Look at
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. I mean, what in the world? Where'd they come? So maybe this might be Cam Ward's destination. Maybe this might be a system. And, Cam Ward is more of your, I guess, your not straight up pocket passer. He can scramble. He can get out on his feet a little bit. I've not watched Cam Ward enough at Miami to fully be like, dude, this is the guy. But I don't hate the pick, just because I feel like the Titans, man, I feel like that's the quarterback position is something that they have been, they just have never got it right. I mean, you talk from Marcus Mariota to then they had to go to Tannehill. Then you had who was the guy before Will Levis?
It was Tannehill.
No. Before Will Levis, we drafted him as well. We drafted him the year before Will
Malik
Levis.
Willis.
Malik
Oh
Willis.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like the Titans and drafting
terrible.
quarterbacks it's not been a
Oh,
good.
I mean, Jesus, I cannot believe we wasted a 3rd-round pick on that. Oh my God,
So like
that's gonna
I
make me upset the rest of the night.
yeah. So I mean, I just don't. Like I said, I can't talk enough about him. I know maybe some of you all can. I didn't watch him enough this year, but I don't hate the pick. But I don't know. I just feel like the Titans that they've not really. They've. It seems like is it me or every year we're trying to get offensive linemen. We've been trying to build our offensive line for centuries, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
I,
But Colton, go ahead, and then we'll hear
yeah,
from
I'm
the
just
two
gonna get
non-Titans
through.
fans.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get through this nonsense. I'll be honest with you. I mean, look, I'm the same way. The reason, like Cam, where in my mind, I have to keep a buddy of ours, Trey. He's a Titans fan also, and he was like, I'm gonna have to keep trying to convince myself that Cam Ward is the next Patrick Mahomes. Like I'm like at this point they're going to draft him, and so I'm just going to have to try and convince myself he's the next Patrick Mahomes. But look, I'll be honest with you. They saw today like he would be the 7th best rated passer in last year's draft, and so in my mind, and here's another part. I don't think we have enough weapons for any quarterback that's not an extreme elite quarterback to come in and make a difference. So, like, if it's something that you don't know, if you're unsure if this guy is the guy, like, I would have loved to have seen you trade back for a couple picks, right? You could have traded back with someone like the Giants or someone went down to like 3 or 4 and got their first pick next year, right? Also, and then you could have 2 early first rounders next year with a chance to get, I don't know, a guy like maybe Arch Manning or someone like that, it's going to be a top guy. I just the film I've watched on Cam Ward, I think he is the best QB in this draft. I just think though that the Titans are searching so hard that if they're such in panic mode that if you was to pass on a quarterback at the number 1 spot and he was to go somewhere and succeed, that you're just going to be labeled. I mean, the general manager is probably out the door, right? Like he's gone. So now it's like, okay, take a quarterback. I'm like you, Dylan. Like Levis, I don't know that he's the guy. But look, he's 6'3", strong arm, has the running ability. Like I would love to go see him in like a Kevin O'Connell system, like a Sean McVay, someone that makes it simple for him, right? The easy slants to get rid of the ball quick, the things he's not having to process so much, and actually give him weapons that he's not running for his life. Don't trade AJ Brown. Congratulations, Tyler.
Thank you.
But I mean, I I love the Titans, and who knows? I mean, what the season's going to bring. You hope for the best, but I expect probably another top 10 pick next year.
Yeah, I did say. Yeah,
It will.
absolutely. Tyler, I want to hear your thoughts on that, and then Mason, I'm gonna shift gears and give you a new topic. But
Okay.
Tyler, what are your thoughts on the Cam Ward to Tennessee?
I don't like it at all. Tennessee has so many holes, and you can blame Levis if you want, but heck, he's throwing the ball to me and Mason. So what does it matter? I mean, his best wide receiver was Nick Westbrook-Akine. I mean, there's so many holes on the offensive side. There's so many holes on the defensive side. You can literally trade back to the Giants, just like Colton said, and take probably the best defensive prospect since freaking Micah Parsons and Abdul Carter, and have the best defensive end in football in 2 years, and then have a first round next year. Hey, let's hit on Arch Manning. I mean, you got 2 firsts, trade up and get him, man. But I've watched a lot of Cam Ward. He's lazy in the pocket. Like, he's so nonchalant that he just don't care, and he ain't gonna have nobody to throw it to. He's got Pollard behind him, but shoot, he's
Mediocre
35.
offensive line, most
He's
likely.
gonna be running for his life, just
Yeah,
like
and
Levis is.
honestly, he's not even like he's not quick.
Yeah, he's not a true running quarterback. Like,
No.
Levis can smoke him in a 40, or like, I mean,
right.
and Levis's arm is better. Levis is a fine quarterback. It's probably not a good fit in Tennessee, like y'all said. He makes a lot of boneheaded decisions, but at the end of the day, QB's not your biggest worry at this point. Like, you've got so many holes. Fill those other holes and wait on the generational prospect in Arch Manning. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
All right, Mason. So talking about this draft, kind of, would you consider this draft class to be an okay class, solid, good, bad, and then who are some guys that maybe like you're looking forward to that may not? I mean, you could call it sleepers if you want, but also not technically sleepers, but could be top 10. You're like, this is guy. Like, I'm excited to watch this guy. And then I want to hear everybody else's on this one.
Yeah. So initially, I mean, I think a lot of people look at the NFL draft and, everybody's always so worried about the quarterback. That's kind of what drives each draft. And I mean, like Colton said, I think this draft class for quarterbacks is extremely weak. I don't think any of these guys coming out are going to be franchise quarterbacks. They may be some backups. They may be starters here in a few years. But I don't think any of them are your franchise quarterbacks who are going to lead you to a Super Bowl. Outside of that, I think there are some good athletes coming out of this draft. Tyler already mentioned Abdul Carter. I think he's going to be a stud. One guy that I'm kind of looking at that is one of my top prospects that I would really not mind for like the Packers to get, the wide receiver from Arizona. I don't really know how you say his first name. Territorio McMillan. Yep. I mean, he's a stud. He's 6'5". I mean, he's going to be a mismatch nightmare on the outside. Wherever he ends up at. His last 2 seasons in Arizona, he averaged over 1,300 yards receiving each year and 9 touchdowns. I mean, the dude's just, he's 6'5". You just put him out on the outside and throw it up to him. I mean, he's just a big body out there. He catches everything. I mean, anything comes his way, he's coming down with it. So watch out for him. I don't know where he's going to fall to. I hope he kind of falls to the Packers. We got some other needs too. But then another interesting one to me is, and I mean, everybody's kind of talking about it, Travis Hunter. I don't know if he's going to be able to play both sides of the ball in the NFL, and I was kind of going to throw it out there and see what y'all's take is. My initial thought is that I think he's going to be better on the defensive side of the ball. Just my initial take. I think he has good instincts. He's quick enough. He's physical enough. I just don't know size-wise if he's – I mean, I guess he could play, kind of the slot, but I don't know – that he can play both sides of the ball at this level. But I kind of wanted to throw out there to y'all and see what you think. Wherever he ends up is obviously going to play a role, right? Whichever one they need him at most. But what do y'all think as far as he goes, after you talk through your people on where you think he's going to excel at, where you think he ends up at, offensive or defensive side of the ball?
Go ahead,
Tyler.
Well, some guys that are high on my list, of course, Abdul Carter, monster. Probably, I mean, honestly, the next Micah looks like him, plays like him, faster than him, bigger than him. So, I mean, I'm pretty high on Abdul Carter. I'd die to get him, but that won't ever happen. Another dude that I'm real high on is Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. He's an absolute monster, defensive tackle, just a unit. And then, of course, you got James Pierce from Tennessee. Everybody's talked about how he has like he's not a good person. Like they talk about his actions and stuff, and that's why he's falling. But I don't know. I mean, like people can talk about all these prospects how they want, but we don't know him personally. So I mean, maybe he's a good dude, maybe he's not, but he's a good football player. And then I want to touch on the quarterback position. There's a dude in this class that I'm very high on. 2 of them actually, and I don't know why on one of them, but I do on the other.
I got 2 of them.
I think if Jackson Dart falls,
I got him.
If Jackson Dart falls to the right spot, like maybe the Rams, and sits behind Stafford for a year or 2, you're looking at a stud. He gets a year or 2 to sit. Now, if he goes somewhere where they throw him like the Saints, they're just going to throw him to the Wolves. I don't think that's what he needs. Like he needs to sit behind somebody and learn. And then my other one is Tyler Shuck from Louisville. He is probably the most accurate passer in this draft. And he's probably going to go second, third, fourth, and he throws missiles, and it's very accurate. And I hate Louisville more than anybody in here probably, but that kid can ball, and he's a good football player. And then probably my last sleeper is going to ruffle some feathers. He's not even a sleeper. Amarion Hampton from North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, running back.
I think he's going to be better than Genty. I've watched both of them play a lot of games, and I've watched a lot of film on Hampton, and he's solid, man. Like I really dig the fact of him playing somewhere maybe like the Broncos alongside of Bo Nix. That would be a beautiful spot for him to land. And then what was your thing you was wanting us to talk about, Mason? Sorry.
Travis Hunter on the offensive defensive side.
Yeah, there's no way he can play both sides to me. So I feel like I think he's a better defender, but honestly, as a defender, you can play wide receiver with his hands and kind of know, kind of like read a defense and know what to do, how to get open. So I feel like he's going to fall to New England, and they're probably just going to throw him at corner, most likely, is what I'm seeing. But maybe somebody sees him as a wide receiver and wants to go up and get him, and I think he'd be fine at that too. I just think, like you said, you got Ted McMillan and you've got the Golden Kid from Texas. There's so many good, and Luther Burden from Missouri. Like, there's so many good wideouts in this class that I feel like maybe lean towards corner for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm actually for just to talk for the Hunter side. I actually think he'd be better off on the offensive side. And the reason I say that is because I would want to see him play as like a true slot, right? Like to me, the teams that have always been so good are the teams that had the Edelmans, the Welkers, right? The guys that when you needed 8 to 10 yards or it's 3rd and 6, they always got you that first down. And right when you have to go from being the main guy, then all of a sudden he could be like the third receiver on a team and put him in the slot. I mean, with his quickness and athleticism, I just think that is his best chance to truly succeed because I think he's a good cornerback, but I think it's going to be a wake up call with the receivers that he's guarding compared to who he guarded, in his time in college. So I think that personally for him, for my sleepers, I like Will Graham, from Michigan. To me, I think he's another like Myles Garrett, like those type of defensive linemen that are really good. I also like the Will Johnson, cornerback. Both of them, I think, are immediate day one starters, impact players. I do think it's a solid running back draft. Of all the things, like it is a good running back draft. I do think it'll be interesting to see who gets Genty and actually how good he is. Right? You never know with Boise State. You never know with those type of things. I think he's a freak of nature, like the way he's built. But you take a team like the Cowboys, right? How bad they need a running back, right? I mean, it's been non-existent since prime Zeke, really, and they haven't really had that true running back. Pollard was all right, but you just never you need a new generational like running back there because I mean you got CD. Didn't they get another receiver in the offseason? They, I may be wrong. But I thought they brought in someone to help out a little bit with
They're linking
say
on, they're putting on the rumors with Tyreek Hill talking
oh
about
yeah,
trading
well,
for
maybe
him.
it could be end up something like that. But if they'll bring in one more receiver to help CD, and then you got a good tight end, so I can see someone like the Cowboys. I'd like to see Genty. But other than that, I just don't see a whole lot of. Also, I'm going to throw out a Kentucky guy there, Maxwell Hairston.
Dog.
I want the Packers to
Right.
take him.
Right. I just saw where he gave up 3 total touchdowns, and it's like, but he also had 3 return touchdowns for interceptions or something like that.
Tied a Kentucky
So
record.
shout out to him. I think he's gonna be they thinking first round, right? I mean, he's
Yeah,
essentially
like late
later
first round.
first
Like
round. So
they're talking about him falling like right around where the Packers are.
yeah, the quarterback draft is not great, but everything else is pretty decent overall.
Yeah. Well, real quick though, I want to hear the name that nobody's talking about, but yet anytime you turn on ESPN, it's all over it. Shador Sanders. So, how good is Shador Sanders? Tyler, what are we thinking? Like, let's give him the respect that he deserves. I mean, obviously he can play. Like, I mean, he went to from a mid major level and then went to Colorado, and I mean they produced wins. But can he produce in the NFL? I guess is what I'm like. Because a lot of people like, dude's terrible. Like, he's not terrible. I mean, he can play. He can play football. He's a good quarterback, but is his type of play, could it go to the NFL and I guess be productive right away? Or will it be something that it's going to take some time? Or will it ever be productive?
I feel like with Shadur, it's all about the landing spot. Like, if he lands to the Giants, heck no. That's just not going to work out good for him. But If he slides down to Pittsburgh, he gets to throw to DK and Pickens and maybe. I mean, maybe he's a good quarterback, and he had great he had great people around him. Don't get me wrong, Travis Hunter, dog, the Horn kid, he's good,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he still got to make the throw, and he did it. So I mean, just with a guy like him, and then here's my big thing about Sanders: never played under another coach that wasn't named Dion, not since middle school. That's going to be a wake up call, quick. Go get somebody like Mike Tomlin, and then compare that to Dion. It just ain't gonna work. Like I mean, it's just gonna be it's gonna be a culture shock to him. But I mean, it can work if he really buys in and lands in a good spot, and they develop him. And yeah, he can all these quarterbacks that go to the NFL, if they can just learn to manage a game, it's a game changer. You don't have to be Aaron Rodgers to win. You don't have to be Tom Brady to win. Nick Foles won it, fellas. Jalen Hurts has won it. Like, there's guys out here that just know how to manage a game, and they win.
Yeah. Mason, what are your thoughts on Shador?
So I think everything Tyler said is true. I think it depends on kind of where he lands. But my hot take is I think he's better than Cam Ward. I think if I'm not taking him, first pick or anything like that. But if I'm an organization and I maybe need a quarterback, I need somebody that can come in and compete. Maybe push whoever my starter is right now. Maybe he has a couple years or a year to learn behind him. I'm taking him because I watched a lot of Colorado games this year, mostly because I usually had some money riding on it. But I mean, every game I watched, he was scrambling. I mean, he was getting pressured as soon as he got the ball. So what he did this year with the offensive line that he had was very impressive to me. And I know he had guys on the outside that would help him out. But to do that game in and game out and have to, take on that kind of pressure, I think if you can get him behind an offensive line that can give him some protection, I think he's the type of guy that can pick defenses apart just with his arm and with his, ability to get outside the pocket and, pick up a few yards here and there. So to me, my hot take, I'm taking him over Cam Ward.
You know who he reminds me of somewhat? I mean, y'all may not think I'm crazy, but he resembles to me because I watch Colorado quite a bit too. But he reminds me of Jaden Daniels. He does. The way that he moves, I know, Tyler, you may think, but the way that he moves outside the pocket, I like Shador. I do. I don't think he's elite, but I agree with you, Mason. I would, and then maybe it's because I've watched him a lot more than Cam Ward. That might be biased, but if I was, I would take him. I like Shador.
I don't hate to take him over Ward at all. That's not a bad take at all.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with that. Also, I do think he has good pocket awareness. I think what you had to do in Colorado if you were going to get a pass off with the line that he had, but I do think he does have a good pocket awareness. I think he's pretty accurate with his throws. I think all the takes coming out about him right now are probably just people that are already against like the attitude or the whole Dion, the whole thing, right? Like they just already putting that out there. I'm like Tyler. I think the thing about the Giants is like it could have been a decent pick if because to me like it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for him to go and sit behind Russell Wilson for a year. But the thing is, the New York is such a big city, and the drama that kind of comes with Russell Wilson a little bit anyhow. The last thing you need is Russell Wilson to have 2 or 3 kind of rough games to start the year, and then all of a sudden Dion's online
to the Wolves,
right? Dion's online saying, "Oh, it's Shadur's time to shine." It's the whole Shadur time to watch, right? So like that's the last thing you need. You put him in Pittsburgh though. Like I'm like him. You put him in Pittsburgh and it's culture and Tomlin over Sanders. Like the name Sanders. Like it does not matter. Like they're always going to be the culture of the Steelers, and they're not going to let anyone come in and change that. And so I do like him over Ward. I do think he can be. I just think that if he allows the attitude, if he allows the limelight, like the spotlight to kind of become too much on him without earning it,
Uh-huh.
That's always usually the downfall of guys like that. So
Yeah. Well, our last thing we're going to talk about NFL, and then we got to get on because we'll run out of time. I'm going to hear from Tyler, and that's it on this one because he is the Eagles fanatic, Eagles fan. Talk about the Eagles, Tyler, coming off a championship, beating the Chiefs Kingdom, a dynasty. What's going
dominated.
to what's going to stop the Eagles from repeating? What 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 could be something that you see? What do you like? I guess maybe.
They've lost a few guys, haven't they?
Oh yeah, we
Got
lost
to.
a lot. That was going to be my first point. You lost guys like Milton Williams, and you trade Chauncey Gardner Johnson away. You lost Mekhi Becton. Those guys are replaceable, good players, like great players. Chauncey Gardner Johnson is one of the best safeties in the league. But at the same time, Howie's looking long term, trying to pay these young guys, and you kept your offense intact. You got Saquon, you got Hurts, you got Smith, you got Brown. Goddard's probably out the door on draft night. I hate to say it, but he's got a big contract. He's probably out. But here's the good thing about the Eagles. Over the next 2 years, they have the most picks in the NFL draft. So there's moves to be made. And there's a guy sitting out in free agency that we need very badly, and his name is Bates from the Falcons. Yeah,
Yeah,
Bates, yeah. He
yeah.
played with Fangio for years. I mean, it makes sense. Go grab him. Have a good draft. Hit on a few defensive ends, maybe, because that's a big weak point now. Is going to be our D line, and you can possibly repeat. Repeating's going to be so hard though. Like the Lions are very, very good. The Chiefs are always going to be good as long as Mahomes is there.
The
And then
Titans. I mean, they're coming.
the Bills, Josh Allen is a monster. He's a stud, so you can never count him out. The Packers, Jordan Love, he's really good, and he's got Josh Jacobs sitting beside him. I mean, that's a duo that can sneak and win some big games. So, I
The
mean,
Washington Commanders.
Jaden Daniels is a stud. He is a stud pony. And it's going to be hard to repeat. But what I'm liking right now is how he is gearing up for the future, too. Like he's making these moves to acquire more assets, get rid of cap space. Like he made a trade for Kenyon Green, probably one of the worst or guards in football last year, statistically, and he's going to use him because he did the same thing with Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton was the worst guard in football at the Jets. Comes to Philly, gets with Jeff Stoutland. I mean, he's got paid $12
Success.
million. So, I mean, how he's trusting an organization, I'm going to trust him too. So, I hope we
Yeah.
repeat for my sake, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get back to the Kentucky conversation. Then we'll end our night with some PGA golf coming up. But Kentucky, it is well known that there are at least 10 college basketball programs that are projected to spend $10 million in NIL. And NIL is name, image, likeness, if you don't know that. But there's some insiders that are saying that Kentucky is in a class of its own. And the reason why it's in a class of its own is because they're predicting for them to have $20 million in NIL. $20 million. I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, where does all this money come from?
The
But
coal
then you get to
mines.
you really get to think about it. And I mean, at the end of the day, though, I mean, we are Kentucky, and I like this. I really do because it's about time. You know, that's my initial feeling is like it's about time that we start getting ourselves together and showing that we are Kentucky for a reason. Like this shouldn't be a problem. Like we should not have a problem getting money to pay players when you're hearing like BYU's. Now I know that there's connections obviously with each campus. Like Colton, you brought up Michigan and the guy's wife or went to Michigan. You know that money,
Arkansas,
but
Tyson Foods, and Walmart.
yeah, but but it's Kentucky. I mean, and that's what we hang our hats on. So Mason, how wild is college basketball again? I mean, we've talked about it, but I mean, you said it's wild, wild west. But $20 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. And I did see Matt Jones tweet earlier that number is a little high that people are throwing out there. He did say that, we're a top three spender in NIL, which we should be, right? But I mean, to think about how much money is out there floating around for these programs, and that's just, I mean, think about these football programs. Like Holden said, Michigan, can you imagine how much money they're dumping into their NIL funds? I mean, something we've talked about it before, but I mean, something has to be done with all this going on. You know, it's getting out of hand, and I, like I said earlier, I mean, it's almost turning into like the NBA, right? There's going to have to be a salary cap. There's going to have to be something done where, or it's going to get. You're going to have these teams every year that are way up here and have these guys, and you're going to have these other teams down here, right? Like bottom of the league, top of the league. And those bottom of the league teams get rewarded with drafts, right? And draft picks. That's not the case in college. So you're going to start to see it get very lopsided if something doesn't change quickly. And I'm not complaining about that for Kentucky, but I also just want to see college basketball, be healthy, be competitive, and this is just going to get out of hand, in my opinion. I think that's crazy.
Oh, it is. Real quick, Colton, give me your take, and then we're going to move on to PGA.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll say this: if that number is true, expectations, continue to increase, right? It's kind of like Ohio State this year in football. But the reason, obviously, they ended up finally winning it all, but the disappointment come because they spent so much money, right? And when you spend that kind of money and you're already like the expectations are already high, now you're expected to go win, right? I mean, Mark Pope done a great job getting to the Sweet 16, but now we expect at least Elite Eight, right? I mean, you got to improve. You can't go backwards after a Sweet 16. You can't come in and lose in round 32, or I mean, you got to at least make the Sweet 16, but really preferably at least the Elite Eight. That's just a crazy number. What you're doing now, like Mason said, you're exposing, like that guy for the Arkansas quarterback that just left, that Emilio's like brother, and now he's being sued for his NIL money back from the collectors, $200,000. They're going to expose themselves. These kids are, and that's what's probably going to have to happen. The contracts, it's not only going to be about if you leave, it's going to be about how's your performance. If you don't perform this way, we have the right to take your money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was going to talk, but I wasn't meaning to thumb, but
Give everybody a thumbs up there.
Yours does that every time.
Tyler, I don't want to skip over you. Yeah, I want to hear from you, Tyler, because I did saw you acted like you was wanting to really say something and chime in. So go ahead.
It's the one thing I wanted to say was with Kentucky. I know we talk about NIL money now. We got to remember our biggest funder is the Crafts, and they hated John Calipari, hated him, and they would not give nothing to him. So there's one big thing for Kentucky now is Mark Pope. Everybody loves Mark Pope. I mean, so they're going to give him money. And then lastly, the one thing I wanted to say was, shoot, I kind of forgot it. I was going to,
You're shaking your head whenever Colton was mentioning the Arkansas thing. I don't know if that helps.
no, it wasn't even about Arkansas. I lost my train of thought on. Oh, you was talking about Ohio State. When you talk about them, dude, they paid Will Howard like $5 million to come there. Like that. That's crazy. And I'm with Mason a little bit here too. Like you're gonna have to do something about it because these mid-major teams are just gonna die out. They're not gonna be able to get guys in to compete. Like it's just not good, and especially like like NAIA D2. Like they ain't got no money to throw out there, like $1 million. Like what do you want them to do to get guys to come play?
Pressure, we got
Nebraska got it. Like,
Man, they gave us a calf pass for 3 meals a day. And we wouldn't even eat it half the time. It was so bad.
Tell them, I said, we couldn't even stop. We'd have to, after games, we would stop at gas stations to eat.
I'm getting calls every day from the alumni thing trying to get money.
Budget's $5, guys.
That is right. They give us a $5 budget.
Chips and a drink for supper, fellas.
All right, let's get to our last topic tonight. So we're talking about the PGA. The PGA tournament is going to be played in Louisiana. We're going to the Zurich Classic. This is actually the only team event on the PGA tournament as far as regular season. Obviously, you have the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup, but as far as like the regular season goes, this is the only one. The format is you have two people on a team, obviously, and you have 4-ball, which is best ball in rounds 1 and 3. And then you have foursomes, which is alternate shot in rounds 2 and 4. Obviously, the favorites coming into this week are your past champions from last year, as should be, Rory and Lowry, Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry. I was looking at the betting odds, guys, and
They've
Rory
got
To
and
be extreme compared to everyone else.
it's Rory and Lowry are at plus 350, and the next closest one is Kurt Kitayama and Colin Morikawa at plus 1200.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think this is going to be close. I don't. I think Rory and Shane are going to. I'm going to say that they're going to win by six strokes. Like I think that Rory is in such a good mindset. Not and for multiple reasons. First off, he just completed the Grand Slam. He finally got that weight lifted off his shoulders. And it's not like he's coming into a tournament that he's not been into or experienced. He's coming into as a past champion with his best friend. Last year, they had great vibes. After the tournament, I mean, you could see Rory and Lowry, they was having karaoke. So I just think that it's a prime time for Rory in his career right now. And I think that he's going to pick up his fourth win on the PGA tournament this week. And again, I don't think it's going to be close. Tyler? What's your thoughts and thoughts on the Zurich Classic in general, and then talk about whatever you want with the Zurich Classic? But do you like this team event? Is it a good mix? Do we wish there was more of these? Because we only get one.
I wish some of the bigger names played. And here's where we get back to the live golf and all that. But man, can you imagine a team of like Bryson and Scotty? Somebody like that'd be crazy. Imagine that in this, or Phil and whoever. Like this, that sucks. But I do love the layout. You start out on the first day, I believe it is 18 holes, best ball, right? You said.
Right.
Then you go
Mile.
alt shot, then you go best ball, then you end it with alt shot. So I mean, listen, fellas, I think we've all probably played alt shot. That's hard. I mean, it's open, Like if somebody messes up once and goes out of bounds, there's a penalty, man. Like that's gonna kill you
Right.
already.
Yeah.
But definitely Rory and Shane, they got to be the favorite. I mean, Rory's coming off the Masters win. Heck, him and his wife got back together. I mean, he's probably in some of the best his mental mind's probably just locked in and dialed.
Oh yeah.
So, like, you can't bet against him. But if you do want some good betting odds, I'm pretty sure Billy Horschel and his partner are down there.
Tom Hoagie.
Yeah, you might want to You might want to dabble in
I
that
had
betting, man.
I had him. I like that one. No,
My, my
yeah. Go ahead.
my favorite guy swinging the PGA right now is Jake Knapp. So
Ooh.
I love that guy. His swing, he looks like he's barely
A
swinging.
young
He's hit
Fred
a
Couples.
country mile.
He hits it
Young Fred
so far
Couples.
and so smooth. Like I love that kid, and I hope he wins. But also, I'm a big Rory guy too. I don't know if any of you guys follow me on TikTok, but I've not stopped reposting his master stuff since he won it. So
Colton, I think that Tyler, he brought up something really good there about talking about, the big names. And when you look at the past in the Zurich Classic, it almost a surprise that Rory played in this last year, I think, because most of the time you don't have those, like, obviously you have Xander and you had Patrick Cantley who played together. But I think the reason why they play in is because they're very, very close friends. Most of the time, though, you don't have your top dogs playing this tournament. Why?
Well, I mean, I think it's just. I mean, one, there's never been. It hasn't been like a signature, so like the points and stuff for it aren't that high for this type of tournament. Also, it's right now it's following two back to a major and a signature event, right? So you're coming off the Masters hangover anyhow by having to play in a signature event the next week. So then you don't really want to go down and play in a team. Also, I mean, I just think this is interesting because to me, like, if you started getting big names, like, why would like some of these other guys play in it, right? Like, if I was like, all right, Scotty was like, man, Rory, me and you are going to team up. Right? Like, why would I think I saw Joel Damon and Harry Higgs or something like that are together, or like Ches Reavie and Brant Snedeker? Like, all right, like why? Like, I mean, where's that's to me that's very hard to balance out. Like, oh, so they get because they know, especially because you're given points, right? So you're like, so I have to play in the same tournament where the number one gets played with the number two in the world, and I've got to go play with the 542nd guy ranked in the world. Like, I mean, I don't know. I do enjoy the event. I do wish there was like one or two more of this type of stuff, and maybe you make it a signature event and you figure out a way to do like the top. They used to do the match play. They took the match play out, right? But maybe you figure out to do like 1 in 64 and 2 in 50 something, and you team it up like that, and then you go and play a signature event as a team. Like you almost make them pair them together. It's not a choice. Like you're gonna play like this.
Or just random draw it.
Right, something like that. You random draw it. But my favorites outside of the McElroy and Lowry, I want to watch for. I like the Horschel and Hoagie pick. The Horgard brothers play together. I think that could be dangerous. And I like Adam Novak, who went to the playoff with JT. Did y'all hear JT tell that story about
He shot 59.
59, right? And Ben
He said
Griffin, they're
he's a
both like
baller.
sleeper type guys. And so I like those two. And then the ones we took in our little pick'em league this week was JT Poston and Keith Mitchell. They make a lot of birdies, both kind of like silent type guys. So I like all those guys to, be up there towards the top.
Yeah. Mason, what are your thoughts on the Zurich Classic?
Well, like they said, I mean, I like the format. I think it's an interesting tournament, kind of switch things up. I do wish that, some of these bigger names would play in it. But like Colton said, it'd be kind of hard to try to manage and figure out, because you do it that first year and you make it a signature event. And like he said, you have the number 1 and number 2 team up. They're going to be like, well, what's the point of me playing in this? I mean, we don't even stand a chance. So I don't know if it's something where, they can limit the field, top 50 or 60. I mean, I know there's quite a bit of difference, but anybody can get hot in that top 50 or 60 and win in any given week, So I don't know if it's something where they could just limit the field and only do, the top 60 players in the world play in it, and you can kind of team up with who you want. There's a certain, average it has to be at, where it can't be 1 and 2. But I would like to see them do something like this where you could see some of these bigger guys in it. And, like a JT Spieth, together and something like this. I mean, I feel like that.
Ooh, that'd
I
be
would love
electric.
that.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I mean, that'd be awesome. I think for the PGA Tour, viewings and just keeping to grow the game. I mean, I think it'd be awesome. But as far as like my obviously, Rory and Shane. I mean, how can you really bet against them? But one of my sleeper picks I really like, Aaron Rye and Sahith Theegala. I feel like Rye's pretty consistent. He's not a guy who he gets a lot of fairways. Anytime I've watched him, he's pretty consistent. And if Theegala can get hot, I could see them playing well and being up there near the top.
About time he gets hot. He's been down this year, right? And everyone's
been
kind of
struggling.
expecting him.
He's not played well at all.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been reading some things. People are kind of talking about him right now, like kind of worried. Is he starting to fall off a little bit? He's going through a slump. He needs to bounce back. So maybe something in this team format. He gets with a guy. I'm assuming they're friends. I don't really know, but gets with somebody they can just kind of calm each other down, and he can kind of get back in the groove of things. But that's my sleeper pick there.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a fun tournament. I mean, it always is, especially when you talk about Rory and Shane Lowry playing together. They know how to bring a good time, fun time. But I think that is it for tonight's episode. Tyler, thank you for hopping on here. We appreciate you. Hopefully we can have you back on.
Thank you guys. Appreciate the invite. Had a blast.
We enjoy talking sports, and as always, go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.